video on getting your stance set up for the 60-yard dash. A lot of guys screw this up because they set up for the 60 more like they're stealing a base rather than trying to run a 60-yard dash for a good time. We need to take more of a page out of the playbook from the football guys on their 40-yard dash and carry it over to the 60-yard dash. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually cheat that stance. It's not cheating, but we're going to get you set up in the stance that's going to keep you in a lateral oriented position like you're stealing a base, but still get the best 60-yard dash time, get your best start out of it. So we want to set you up in a stance to get your best first step, to get your best second, and get your good start, get a good 10-yard, and then that'll translate to your best 60. So what a lot of guys do is they screw it up because they get into a stance like they're stealing a base. They get really wide. They let one arm hang down like this, like they're stealing a base. Now, this is fine for base stealing because when you're stealing a base, you're in a baseball game, you have to be able to get back to the bag. So you're here, you need to be able to dive back to first. And then when you're in this position, because you're so wide with your feet that you actually don't really cross over and get into your run because you're so wide in your lateral that your first step would probably be offline somewhere. So what you do is when you're stealing a base, guys, if you break down the base stealing in slow motion, it's more like they're here, they directional step first. So your first step is going to be directional, and then this arm kind of comes back, and now they're into the run. But what I want to do is I want to set them up in more of a stance where they could get a good first step and get off running without having to go through all that. Again, when you're doing the 60-yard dash, you don't need to go back to first base. So get yourself set up, all you have to worry about is going forward. So what we're going to do is we're going to take their stance, and first thing we're going to do is make it more narrow. Then we're going to take your back, we're going to stagger them. So 1 foot back, 1 foot up a little bit. I'm going to make sure that they're really on the balls and edges of their feet. So if you notice, I'm going to be on this outside toe here, more on my outside edge here, and more on my inside edge, my big toe of my back foot. And I'm just going to take this back toe and I'm going to turn it a little bit. Now, this is close to a base stealing stance, but it's not going to look like a base stealing stance. I've never had guys get told that they can't run like this. In fact, I've trained a lot of guys who went to showcases, and they said you could actually run from a three-point stance if you want to. They don't care. They just want to see guys that are fast. So this is going to get you set up to run, still staying lateral without getting into a three-point stance, but get you a good time. So we're here, this toe, we're going to open it slightly, open this one a little bit, and now I'm really on the balls of my feet, outside edge, inside edge, and my shins are set up so that I can push force back behind me and get myself going horizontally. I don't want to stand here with a vertical shin like this, because then when I go to push, I push myself straight up. I want to push that way. So I'm going to set myself up as much as I can, pushing back. Now, from this position, I kind of fold the waist a lot. I bring my back hand to my hip. I bring my front hand up to my eye so that my first step as I push, the reason why we stagger you a little bit is so you can cross, you can get it through your hip here, right, in a straight line. So as I come, I'm going to be here instead of, if you're not staggered, what happens is you look like this, and your first step is probably going to be not in a straight line, it's going to be off, and then you're going to run kind of like a bowed 60. So again, I'm going to be here, I'm going to stagger, I'm going to bring them more narrow, hand to my eye, I'm going to watch my toes, right? My first step, I'm just going to explode through and throw the arms, boom, and I'm still watching my toes when I come out of it. All right, so that's kind of how we got our guys set up. Now, there's a lot that goes into running the first step, the first 10 yards, but this is kind of how we get guys set up. We stagger, we get more narrow, we make sure the shins are pointing back, and we take the arms, instead of having the front one up, we take them and switch them, put the back one up, so that it's more like just lining up, getting ready to run a sprint, okay? Remember, when you sprint, you're always opposites. So if you do this, I see a lot of guys, they try to do this, like they're base stealing, they get here, and then when they go to cross, they have their arms going with same arm, same leg going, and then they get all screwed up in their first couple steps, look screwy. So that's why we make sure we get your arms set right.